Hi, Niv. How are you?
Good morning, everyone. I'm doing good. How about y'all?
Very busy, but good. Hi, Annie.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Annie. Good morning.
Hey, Nate. Hello, Frederick. Hey, Leah. Hi, Niv.
Hi.
Hazel and Thomas and Randy. Zakia. Good to see you all.
Hey, Nancy.
Hi, Joe. Hi, everybody. Hi, Annie. Hi, Fred. Hi, Bernetta.
Hi, Nancy.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning. Annie, do you need somebody to take minutes, take down the minutes of the meeting? I can't hear you.
Me.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Here, let me try this. Is that any better?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I said that would be wonderful because otherwise it was going to be me, and I'm not the best note-taking multitasker. So much appreciated.
You've got a lot going on, so I'll be happy to take it down. I think I've got it open. It says August 16, 2020 meeting minutes. So I think I'll write it there.
Perfect. Thanks, Niv.
Welcome.
Hello and welcome, everybody. We're just going to give folks a couple more minutes to join. Quick check. Can everyone see the screen I'm sharing?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. That's a good sign. All right, well, I see that we have about 23, 24 people who are online with us now. So in the interest of everyone's time, to be respectful, we're going to go ahead and get started. And as people trickle in, they can totally catch up. This is a special meeting today, it's in the interest of everyone getting to know each other and getting to understand the council in a way that will help us really launch with momentum in September for the official meetings. It'll also give us an idea as we take attendance today who we're missing and give Bernetta and I and others a chance to get everybody present by the time we have our first official meeting. So here is today's agenda. We will be going through, I have this on a PowerPoint for us to help do introductions and such, but just to do a quick overview of the agenda before we delve into that presentation, here's what you can expect for today. We're going to do a welcome to the council. We're so happy to have all of you here. It is no small ask to have all the presidents of the councils, whether they be graduate student, undergraduate, or combined, to give up a Sunday every month for service in shared governance for the system and for each of your institutions. So it's our job as the executive team to make sure that these Sundays are worth it for all of you. And it's going to be a situation where we're going to do everything we can, but it's also going to be a situation where it's going to, what you put into it is going to be what you're going to be able to get out of it as well. So this is going to be an excellent opportunity for everyone to get to know each other, to get to share best practices, connect across the system, and make potential policy changes, etc., at the system level. Once we do our welcome to the council presentation, we will be having a presentation from Christina Dreschel-Williams, who's a senior policy analyst at the governor's office. And is going to be talking about an opportunity for a couple of students to serve on the Maryland Youth Advisory Council. Then we will have a conversation on civic engagement initiatives with Dr. Nancy Shapiro. So we're super happy to have Dr. Shapiro here with us, who's Associate Vice Chancellor for Education and Outreach. And then we will have Bernetta, our wonderful Vice President for Undergraduate Affairs, giving a presentation on outreach, communications, and social media. And then we'll adjourn. So that should give us a really good foundation for the whole year. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second to switch what I'm sharing. All right, one more check. Thumbs up if you can see. Oh, good. The 5 people I can see. so we'll go ahead and give it a start. Once again, welcome. The purpose of the University System of Maryland Student Council. Much of what you see here is coming directly from our Constitution and bylaws. So getting back to the basics, but something important for all of us to know and to keep as kind of an anchor and guiding light for us throughout this term. There we go. So the University System of Maryland Student Council is an apolitical advisory board, and we're established in such a way to assist the Chancellor, Jay Perman. The council derives its authority from the Board of Regents and shall act as a conduit for communication between students and the Chancellor and the Board of Regents. So it's also our job, as you see here in part 3, to have a proactive nature. So we are here to come up with ideas, to generate ideas, and to generate change. So we are here to propose new policies and policy changes to the Chancellor, to the Board of Regents, and to review past policies or policies that other folks might be bringing forth. An example of this is during our first official meeting in September. We are welcoming both of the presidents of our, I can't think of a better word than sister councils, but the presidents of the Staff System Council and the Faculty System Council will be joining us, and we'll be looking at a policy on academic integrity as an example of that, which is being proposed by the faculty group. Furthermore, it's our function to advise the Chancellor on issues, matters, and policies that impact students. We are the collective student voice of the system. In fulfilling this function, the Council will transmit to the Chancellor its majority and minority views. I think this is really important, that we're representing multiple views. We don't have to pick just one to represent, and I think that's a really wonderful part of this Council and what we're able to do. And we will also function as a network for sharing ideas and concerns of general interest to students and act as a resource for student government associations on individual campuses. I've seen this play out quite a bit over the past 2 years for folks who are also returning. I think this is one of our strongest parts of what we do. By getting together every month, we're able to share problems and also solutions which can help our peers. So in that way, it's a very positive council to be on. Council membership. To give you an idea of council structure, you have the executives, which is myself as president, Bernetta Reese, who is Vice President of Undergraduate Affairs, and then we have a vacancy for Vice President of Graduate Affairs. This is me making a verbal announcement, but we'll be sending social media graphics and so forth as well for folks to submit nominations for the Vice President of Graduate Affairs so that we can have the election during our first official meeting in September. With that, this is the first slide where I thought we could probably, where we could start doing our introductions. So once again, I'm Annie, I'm the president, I'm a current PhD student in International Peace Studies at University of Maryland College Park. And with that, I will pass it for a brief introduction from Bernetta.
Thank you, Annie. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited about kicking things off today. Bernetta Reese, I'm the Vice President of Undergraduate Affairs for our Student Council, Native and lifelong resident of Maryland, and also a student at University of Maryland Global Campus as the Executive Chair of the Student Council there as well. So nice to meet you all.
Wonderful, and I'm escaping because I can't have my PowerPoint on presentation mode and have the list of institutions out at the same time, but I was hoping, and I know some of them by heart alphabetically, but not all once we start getting to the university ofs. So if we could start to get to know everybody, could those of you in the room who are representing Bowie State go first?
Hi, my name is Michael McGee. I am the president of the Graduate Student Association for Bowie State University, and it's great to be amongst all these wonderful minds.
Excellent. Do we have anyone else from Bowie?
No.
Well, okay. It looked like somebody might be trying to go off mute, but I think we're good. Okay. Do we have anyone here from Coppin State?
Hi, I'm Essence Bennett. I serve as the SGA president at Coppin State University. Sorry, I'm at work right now, but I'm happy to be here and I will be tuned in. So I'm not gonna have my camera on, but I'll be here.
Oh, that's awesome, Essence. And way to wear a mask. Total
Yes,
perfect.
absolutely. Thank you.
No, that's great. That is totally great. And then do we have anyone here from Frostburg, representing Frostburg? No Frostburgs? I thought I saw.
Annie, Tom Forrest is here from Frostburg, and he said his microphone wasn't working so well. There he is. He just put himself in the chat to say hello.
Oh, thanks for putting yourself in the chat, Thomas. And Thomas is an excellent example. I'll put this out to all of you. I really would like to have a one-on-one with all of you, and my one-on-one with Thomas is tomorrow. So follow Thomas's lead. Great to meet you, Thomas. Thomas writes here from the SGA at Frostburg. Thank you, Thomas. All right, do we have anyone here from Salisbury?
Hi, I am Casey, and I am the president of the Graduate Student Council at Salisbury.
Awesome. And do we have any undergrads from Salisbury?
We do have a president, but they currently did a transition to a new president, so I don't think he's been receiving the new invites yet.
Thank you for that, Casey. We might reach out to you if it's okay. Do you happen to know who that is or how we could find out?
Yeah, I'll chat you his information.
Thank you. And it's great to have you, Casey. Let's see who we have next. Towson.
Hi, my name is Degain. I'm the president of the Student Government Association at Towson. It's nice to meet you all.
Hey, Degain, pleasure. And do we have a grad?
Good morning, yes. My name is Jonathan Beckett. I'm a second-year grad student at Towson, the current Graduate Student Association president.
Welcome, Jonathan. And next up, we have University of Baltimore.
Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Kushkepazi. I'm a graduate student at the University of Baltimore, and we only have one SGA, and I'm the president of it currently. But we also have a senator here, too.
Oh, you do? Oh, thanks for telling me that, so I didn't skip over him. Daniel, it's great to have you back.
Thank you, Annie.
And who is our Senate person from University of Baltimore?
Hi, everyone. I'm Randy Wells. I'm from the senator from University of Baltimore.
Welcome, Randy. Thank you both for coming. And next we have University of Maryland, Baltimore, UMB. So who are UMB folks?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Nivedita. I am the president of the University Student Government Association at UMB. And I don't think my the GSA rep is here currently, but I'll make sure that they can be there next time.
Perfect. You knew what I was going to ask you before I even asked it. It's great to have you back, Niv. All right, next up we have UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mershad Devin. I'm the president of the Student Government Association for UMBC. I'm looking forward to working with all of you guys. My GSA president isn't here today, but I'll try to get him here for next time.
Thank you. Thanks, Mershad. Pleasure. Welcome to the council. And next we have University of Maryland, College Park.
Hey everyone, my name is Dan Alpert and I serve as the student body president for College Park. And I don't believe the other Dan is on.
It's true, we have two Dans at College Park. I will hunt down Dan Laffin.
Dan Laffin is our graduate student government president.
It's great to see you, Dan. Thanks for coming. All right, next we have UMCS, Maryland Center for Environmental Science.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Wendell. I'm a PhD student at the University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science, and I am the new chair of the Graduate Student Council.
Thanks, Anna.
And which lab are you at, Anna? Excuse me.
I'm at Horn Point Lab, which is in Cambridge, Maryland, on the shore.
Cool. And I believe Kiari, you're from UMCS too?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Kia. So I'm also at lab right now. So, but yeah, so I am the Graduate Student Council co-chair, and I am at IMET in Baltimore.
Awesome. Oh, it's so cool that we have two of you from two different labs. And just so folks know, if you don't know this, that UMCS is all graduate students. So that's why we have 2 co-chairs that are both graduate students. Next up, we have University of Maryland Eastern Shore.
Hello, how are you doing today? My name is Michael Amo. I'm the Student Government Association President from University of Maryland Eastern Shore.
Nice to meet you, Michael. Welcome to the council. And do we have a second person from Eastern Shore?
I don't think so at the moment.
That's all right. That tells us who we need to find. So that's totally cool. But thank you. It's great to meet you. And next we have University of Maryland Global Campus. Whoop. Which may be, I'm trying to think. Renetta, would it just be-
Ashley.
Oh, Ashley.
Yeah, that would be Ashley.
Sorry. Cool.
It looks like she's muted.
Oh, she's muted. Ashley.
There she is.
Hi, it's Ashley Esposito. I'm from University of Maryland Global Campus. I'm a undergrad. I'm looking forward to working with everyone.
Awesome. Welcome to the council, Ashley. And the graduate student from UMGC is just now getting selected, so we'll get to welcome them next time as well. And then next up is University System of Maryland, Hagerstown. Is anyone here from Hagerstown? Probably not. We will find the people of Hagerstown. I haven't met a person from Hagerstown yet in my 2 years on council, but we will find them and they will join us. Next up is Shady Grove. Who do we have from Shady Grove?
Hi, that's me. My name is Tiffany Flowers, and I'm the president of the SGA for Shady Grove. And as some of you guys may know, our campus is unique, so we have 9 different universities there. I'm actually attending Towson University, so it's nice to see the Towson president here.
Oh, wow. How cool, Tiffany. Well, during our one-on-one, you'll have to tell me all about how you're 9 universities in one. I'm super.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So everybody from all the universities, so it's actually a pretty cool experience.
That is very cool. That's awesome. Welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, University System of Maryland, Southern Maryland. Do we have anyone?
I don't think so.
Okay. Hagerstown, Southern Maryland, we will find you. Well, everyone, welcome. So over the course between one-on-ones and when we do breakout sessions, which are a typical part of a meeting format every single official meeting, you'll really get to know each other, especially your fellow undergraduates or fellow graduate students, because the breakout sessions are usually delineated in that way because some issues are particular to both, and then we come together and we talk about issues that are pertinent to all. So welcome again. All right, now bear with me. I got to share my PowerPoint again. All right, away from current slide. All right, so in addition, we have a few more people to introduce today, and that includes our ex officio members. So to begin with, I'm hoping they're here. Nate and Aaliyah, are you both here? How about we start with Aaliyah? I can see you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Leah Edwards. I'm one of the student regents, and I attend the University of Maryland Eastern Shore.
And just so folks can know, can you say a few words of what that means, what it means to be the student regent?
A student regent is, I sit on the board. I'm a non-voting member this year, but I serve as the student's voice, kind of like you guys. But I am in the room with the Board of Regents instead of being outside of the room.
You are in the room where it happens, which is great. And Nate, are you here?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So my name is Nate Sansom. I'm a student at Salisbury University, majoring in political science and conflict resolution. I am Aaliyah's counterpart as the voting student regent for this year. And so together, Aaliyah and I are just working together to serve as the voice for our entire USM student community. And we look forward to working with all of you as we represent our students throughout the system.
Okay, Annie, this is Joe. Could I say just a couple of words about student regents?
Yes, of course.
Okay. I think everybody needs to know that, in fact, there are other boards of regents or major boards for universities around the country that have student representation, but very few of them have a student regent who has full voting rights. So this year, Nate Sansom will be involved in every decision that the Board of Regents makes, including major budget decisions, selection of presidents, as we are hiring new presidents and so on. And Leah, what we found is that having students come on the Board of Regents and off the Board of Regents in 1 year was challenging because it's a very steep learning curve. And so, in fact, a former student regent who is now a senator in the Maryland State Senate put in a bill this year that would allow 2 student regents, one a voting member, the other for 1 year a non-voting member, and then elevated to the voting member status. And that's the role Leah is playing this year. So these folks, you have to understand that we work the Board of Regents very hard. And in fact, I'm going to guess maybe a day or a day and a half a week worth of work is done by the Board of Regents. And your student regents can explain as they get onto their committees and those committees get start working and so on. But one thing I would like to say also is that the student regents, and Leah is correct, you are the voice of the students, but even more important than that, the regents provide the student perspective on every conversation, every decision that is made. So when new or different policy issues come forward, those usually come from the student council. They can be presented to the Board of Regents by the student regent. But the difference there is in the room where it happens, the student regents are there and the other regents will turn to the student regents and ask, what impact will this, whatever they're talking about, have on the students? What is the feedback that you have? So I just wanted to make those few things clear. The student regents are really important people.
Maybe you should introduce yourself too.
Oh, should I go ahead and introduce myself?
Would be a perfect, yeah. So
I'm sorry. I'm Jo Boffman, the Senior Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs at the University System of Maryland. And our office handles a wide variety of issues. And we'll get to those eventually during the year. But I would just like to say that actually this Sunday each month is one of my favorite days because in fact, we do listen to and value the students and their opinions and their impact. We make decisions and we will bring to you issues as they come forward to get your response to those issues and so on. But we're really looking forward to working with all of you this year.
Thank you, Jo. And Zakia?
Hi, everyone. Zakia Lee, and I am in Jo's office. I'm Assistant Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs and Jo's Chief of Staff. So once in a while, I'll do something like, well, who are you, ma'am? Like I just did. So it's a pleasure to be here with you all. I'll work closely with the executive board and the student regents as far as education and student life, academic affairs, faculty affairs, kinds of issues abound. So I'm here to assist however I can. And I am immediately thinking any room where we are having so many Hamilton references already is good for me. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. And I think today, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know everyone in the room yet, a lot of folks are new for me too. Do we have a few others from the USM today?
I think Dr. Shapiro is already here.
Yeah, Dr. Shapiro. Do you want to introduce yourself now? Is that cool?
Sure. Yes. Thank you, Annie. So I'm Nancy Shapiro. I'm Associate Vice Chancellor in Jo's office. I work with all the issues related to students' transition into college, between universities and community colleges, out of college, into the career. The title Education and Outreach is a little strange. I work with the P20 issues, the preschool through graduate school, and topics that affect us broadly as members of society. So I work with all of the teacher educators in the state, both the USM institutions, but also the MICUA and independent colleges and community colleges. My office is an umbrella office that wherever the intersections are, that's the work I do. So I'll stop there.
That sounds great. Thanks, Dr. Shapiro. So everyone, this is us. There's a few folks that we'll welcome in September, but this is basically us. And we're all going to get to have hopefully a lot of fun, but also create a lot of positive change that's also defined by us. And one more thing about the student regent that I just want to point out very quickly is that this council helps select the finalists that are then sent upwards for selection. So come later in the semester, we will pursue that more, but we're really hoping this year to do a better job of outreach for the student regent roles. So just be on the lookout for that, so that hopefully we can have somebody from every campus trying out, somebody being nominated from everywhere. So yeah,
And
we've always ended, yeah?
I see Drew on the line too, if you want to give him a second to introduce himself.
Drew, I didn't see you. I only have 6 people at one time since I'm presenting. So Drew, say hi.
Hey everybody, yeah, I'm Drew Needham. I'm the former student regent. Hoping to stay involved with USMSC this year, and maybe one of our executive positions or part of the cabinet, or just helping out our new student regents with their learning curve. I am a 3rd-year law student at University of Maryland, Baltimore. So it's great to be back, and I'm actually in the car right now, so I'm just on phone. So I can't see you guys, but it's good to at least hear so many familiar voices.
For sure. So glad you're here, Drew. Thanks for joining.
Mm-hmm.
And those positions.
No, of course.
Yes, those positions that Drew are talking about is next slide. It's very exciting. If I can get my slide to change. Whoop, nope, here we go. So the council also has something called the board of directors. And the board of directors include the following 4 defined roles, including Director of Government Relations, Director of Student Affairs, Director of Diversity and Inclusion, and Director of Communications and Marketing. So here is my call out to all of you. If you are interested in any of these roles, know that if you take them on, you lose your voting rights. So if you decide that you want one of these roles, sometimes this was blurry in the past, but we're really trying to follow the bylaws this year. And if there's things we don't like, then we'll change the bylaws. So if any of these are appealing to you, you would have, I think, a lot of fun in them, but know that you would lose your voting rights, and you'd have to find somebody else from your institution to come every month to be the voting voice, if you will. We'll get more into that later, because yes, every school can have 2 people, but every school is 1 vote. But you could no longer be part of that. You'd be more so like I am, or like Bernetta is, where we're in a leadership role, but we do not vote. You kind of lose your institutional affiliation in just that one way. That being said, these are all 4 very rewarding positions. And if you are interested, or hopefully you know some folks at your institutions who may be interested, we are currently searching for all 4 of these. These do not go through an election process. They are appointed by the president. However, I'm all about everybody getting to pick who they want in these roles. So although it will not have a formal election component, what I will be doing is sending something out. And as we get nominations, I'll ask for feedback, and I'll base the decision on that feedback. So basically, we'll all still be selecting. It just won't be an official election kind of raising of hands, person leaves the room. We won't be going through all of that, but we will be reviewing the nominees together and trying to find the best fits together. All right. Does anyone have questions about anything that I've brought up so far? Good? Hopefully you're good. Cool. Stop me at any time or write in the chat if you have a question. All right, next up is meetings. So we meet once a month. And now I have to move everybody even further off so I can read my slide. So quorum, a simple majority of the active USM institutions and regional centers constitutes our quorum. We need a quorum to have any votes during our meetings. So quorum is very important to us, but of equal, if not more importance to us, is we want everyone here so that we get everyone's perspective and everyone is included throughout the year. And so when we're talking about topics, we talk about so many things in this council, but an example being, if we're talking about campus safety Campus safety is going to look different at College Park than maybe Baltimore, than Frostburg, than Salisbury. And if only a few schools are in the room, we really do miss out. So that's just one of many examples we could go into, but it's just so important that we're all here because we all represent the students across the entire system. So we don't want to lose any perspectives. But in addition to that desire is the desire to have quorum so that we can vote. So there is always going to be an emphasis on who's here attending and making sure every voice is at the table. We work with Robert's rules. I'm hoping, given most of you are presidents of your respective graduate student or undergraduate student government associations, that you are somewhat familiar with Robert's rules. And then official meetings, we try to be very transparent. So even this meeting is being live streamed. That's the typical how we're going to do it. Like everything we're doing is out in the open. We want people to know about us. We want them to reach out to all of you in case things are happening that they care about at the system or state level. Now, there's one exception to this. Sometimes we're going to have to go into closed sessions. One of those things is elections, but there are other times we sometimes have to go into a closed session, and that's the one time where we would turn off the live stream. We would ask nobody, everybody respect that closed session. And committees. So all of you who are returning kind of know what committees are, but for the good of the group, committees, and this is out of our bylaws once again, just so we're getting off to a start where we're adhering to our governing documents. This is how you create a committee. So a representative, so any of you who are representatives here, that means you're a voting person, you can say, hey, I really want a committee on student fees. And you would make a motion and we would vote and we would create that committee. Similarly, that's kind of how a committee would be disbanded, or the committee can be disbanded in two ways, either a motion like I just said, like the creation motion, or June 30th comes. So all of our committees only last for the current term, and it's the job of every new council to decide what their priorities are and create committees as needed. So if you want to make a committee, you need to have your chair figured out. You need to figure out who you want to lead that committee. So part of your motion isn't just, I want a committee on Title IX offices and regulations. I want to look at that across all the institutions. You need to say, I want to look at that, and I've gone to the effort of finding somebody who will lead that charge. This is very important because we want anything that we deem a priority enough to have a separate working group on needs to have the dedication to have the follow through. So that part is really important. To that end, if we have a committee formed and the person who is the chair of that committee misses, doesn't give reports, doesn't tell us they're going to be missing and therefore can't update the council, we will be asking them to step down, and we will ask for somebody else to step up, or we will ask to disband that committee. What we don't want is the creation of several committees that are ineffective because the follow through is not there. We rather have fewer committees that have all the follow through than a slew of committees with no follow through. So think about what you want those things to be and get excited about them. I've heard some ideas from some of you. We'll be deciding those more so in September. This is planting the seed for you to decide what you're really passionate about on your campuses to bring up in your breakout rooms into the whole council. All right, and that's where my intro talk stops. And making really great time. I don't know if by any chance Christina's here. Is Christina here?
And Annie, also, if you want, did you want to talk a little bit about the vacancy and the process for that, for the VP and the chancellor's gatherings?
Thanks, Bernetta. I knew I would forget something. So a couple things. One is we're still looking for the vice president for graduate student affairs. If you know somebody, I know a couple people in this room are interested, so I'm hoping they are still interested and are still tossing their hat into the ring for next time. But if you know anybody else, please have them submit their materials. I believe we had it the 25th. that the day we had it, Bernetta?
Yeah, we had it set to the 25th to make sure
Yeah.
we have one in place.
Yeah, because we have to follow these. Again, we have to follow the bylaws. So we have to get everything in a certain amount of days before September 13th, our next meeting. So if you know anyone, please do share, and we'll hopefully have a really good election in September for that role. Bernetta, myself, have met with the Chancellor a couple of times. He is very welcoming. He has been wonderful so far. And one of the initiatives he would really like to see happen, so we're making it happen. I don't know why, like we hope to see it happen. It's happening. We will be having get-togethers with students from across the system with the Chancellor. I don't remember off the top of my head that first date anymore. Does anyone have that?
I can find it, Annie.
You can?
Yeah, it's September, the middle of September.
Middle of September?
Yeah.
All right. So our first one's, I believe it's also in the evening to try to help with everybody's schedules. So in the evening of September will be the first get together with the Chancellor, and we're looking for students across all of your campuses. If this person is you, that is fine. If this person is somebody else, that is also fine. But we're going to have a discussion all about returning to campus. And that envelops a lot of things, right? So there's more than one pandemic happening that we're all aware of. There's also many considerations throughout the system in so many ways about returning to campus, from academics and student life, safety, health, etc. So if you have some folks that are sitting on COVID committees on your campuses that you think are the best fit for giving a perspective to the Chancellor about what's going on the ground, please do send them. If that person is you, please send you. Similarly, if you have groups on your campus about ending structural racism, please send, or ways that your campus is responding to issues surrounding that. I'm trying to think if there were other things related to reopening that I'm forgetting. Communications is a big one, and technology is a big one. So you can kind of think of them yourselves too, but think about who you want to send. And I don't think do we have a limit on who can go to those?
Well, Annie, the idea when we talked to the Chancellor was that he, wanted it a reasonable enough size to get a good perspective, but not overwhelming that there wouldn't be enough time for folks to talk. So I think we can talk offline about whether maybe that's 2 people per institution, and then talk about it. But as you alluded to, he's willing to do this several times throughout the year. So this September one will not be the last one. We just wanted to get the first one on the calendar as soon as possible, and then we'll plan some more out later. And then your executive board will think more about what those themes for the meetings should be. But I think we want to maybe start off with 2 as my suggestion per institution, and see how that goes, and if it's manageable, and it gives everyone an opportunity to have some input.
Agreed.
Yeah, Annie. This is Joe. Niv may want to say something because Chancellor Perman, when he was president at UMB, did this regularly with students at UMB, and I'm sure Niv might have something to say about how they worked or what help you think it was.
Yeah, so Chancellor Perman, when he was President Perman, was all about communicating with students. I can't count how many, I used to have regular meetings with him every once a month to discuss issues, broad-based issues that students are facing, but he would also come to some of our executive board meetings as well as our, what we call Senate meetings also. And this is in addition to all the town halls and all the 500 amazing things he did. So he is very much about communicating with students. And whenever he would come to Senate meeting, we would always try to live stream those meetings, and we would ask students to come to our meetings. And if they couldn't make it, we would always ask them to give their questions ahead of time. And President Perman was always about transparency, and he was always about improving UMB. And I was really happy when he became Chancellor, because I think he has a lot of good initiatives in mind. And I think he can do a lot of good once, we get out of this whole COVID situation. Does that answer the question, Joe, or is there anything else specifically you would like me to talk about?
No, I think it's just good for the students to hear from another student that in fact, this is not just words. coming from the chancellor. He really believes it and lives it.
He really believes and lives it, and I think we're going to have a really good relationship with him, and I'm really looking forward to all of us working with him.
That is so great. Sorry, excuse me. In addition to that, I would say we're going to make an effort. It's a lot. There are a lot of institutions, but I'm hoping all of you may share with us your calendars for when you all meet, and I will at least try to go to something you're doing this semester to get to know your whole group better, at each of your schools, and get to hear from more folks from your schools. Since I don't know what everyone's schedule is like, I can't say I can commit to everybody and going to everything, but I will do my utmost to make that happen. What questions do you all have, new folks, returning folks, about the council?
Hey, where can I go to get more information about the council, to keep updated on everything that's going on with the council? That's it.
That is a great question. One is the website. We also have lots of social media pages now, and both of those are going to be go-tos, especially this year with everything being virtual. We definitely have those links and everything for you. Are you on our listserv yet?
Say it again.
Are you on the listserv yet?
I think so.
Okay, so we'll be sending those out, and then we'll also make sure you're on. Are you on the team drive yet?
No.
All right, we'll get you on there. So, those are some of the key ones, and then those are going to have resources, and it's split up in a number of different ways. One of the things that hopefully all of you will be contributing to quite a bit is we have things on the team drive devoted to issues. So if you have an issue going on at your campus, we hope you will either add a folder or add to a folder respective to that issue. And you can do that in between meetings. You don't have to say, can I please say that, I don't know what it would be. Hiring committees at my university should have students on them. You can just make a folder about having student input in hiring committees and start to, we can start to collect on that topic. To that end, we do have a few topics for all of you just to see how you feel about them. And just so we have a change of voices, we had a really great, Bernetta and I had a really great meeting with both of the student regents. So Nate and Aaliyah. And Nate and Aaliyah had a whole list already of potential things our council could pursue. So just for a change of voice, if nobody else has a pressing question, Nate, Aaliyah, would you like to share a couple things that have been on your mind since you both assumed your role in July?
Aaliyah, do you want to go first?
You got it, Nate. You got it.
Okay, feel free to stop me anytime then, or tell me what I'm missing. Aaliyah and I were both very passionate about a few issues, one of which was that of food insecurity and homelessness on our campuses. And so we would just like to, we were thinking about the possibility of exploring that issue a little bit more. And Joe has let us know that there are programs on each of our campuses. And so that was something that we were glad to hear. And really, we were just interested in discerning or learning whether or not those programs are meeting the needs across our state on each of our campuses. And then a few other topics we discussed at our meeting with Annie and Bernetta were those of the new Title IX regulations. I know we're very concerned with those and ensuring that we're protecting all of our students. And as we adapt to those challenging, to say the least, new guidelines. And I know each of your institutions is making their own process for how they're going to adapt. And so I'm sure you've seen emails coming out lately in the past week, as those just went into effect August 14th. So that's a topic that personally I'd really like to keep a close eye on and work with all of you to learn what's going well at your universities, where are the gaps, what do we need to do. And so I know Aaliyah and I are passionate about that one in particular as well. And trying to think, I know we had a few others, Aaliyah. There are a few that I've thought about that I haven't spoken with you about yet, Annie, but I will do that, so I won't bring those up yet. But I know those were our major ones, and there are a few others. I'll have to look through my notes. So, but Aaliyah, is there any gaps that you can fill in there? And I'll look to see if I can find the others.
I actually was trying to look through our notes, the meeting that we had, to see if I could find it while you were talking. But food insecurity was definitely our biggest thing, because we know as students, you have to prioritize, hey, am I going to get groceries this day? Or am I going to put gas in my car? Or am I going to buy a book? So food insecurity is definitely a big thing we've been tackling already since we've been chosen for these positions. So that's my biggest thing. And he also talked about the Title IX, and that's a really big issue, definitely because of the new implements that have been changed. But you guys want to look through our notes and get back to you about everything else that we were talking about.
And I found a few more. So thank you, Aaliyah. Another topic, and I know Bernetta contributed to this one a little bit as well during our conversation, was that of mental health. And I know mental health services look different across our institutions. I know every one of our brick and mortar campuses has a counseling center, and I was particularly interested in learning what the global campus is doing with our students that are here in the U.S., also in Europe and across Asia and throughout the world. And so particularly in light of the current pandemic that we're in, and realizing the adverse effects to mental health that affects all of us in one way or another, I'm particularly interested in making sure that we are meeting students' needs to the best of our abilities. And I know that's something that all four of us on our call, we all, I think we truly had a productive conversation there, and just looking forward to make sure that we are doing our level best to make sure that no one, no need is going unmet to the best of our ability. And then I know, Annie, you had helped educate me on a few other topics that had been important to the graduate community, such as that of differential fees. And I know that it also affects some of our undergraduate students at a few institutions, but then also the whole graduate student collective bargaining situation, I know was something that I don't know much about, but I'm currently learning about it. And so Annie, thank you for your help and in sharing some information about that. So I look forward to learning more about all those issues and many others. And I'll make sure I'll put it in the chat. You can feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm here to serve all of you, and I won't speak for Aaliyah, but I assume that both of us want to be very open to all of you.
Yeah, that was actually my follow-up question for you both, is how do you most want to be reached out to? Do you have a preference? Like, do you want people to email you, text you? Do you have what would you like the most?
I prefer to be text, but I can also give you my email, but I'll just drop it in the chat for everyone to have.
Cool.
And I'll do the same. I'll respond to email or text, either works fine. And so I'll put that in the chat as well. Thank you, Annie.
Sure. And Annie, I'll put that in the meeting minutes also.
Oh, thank you. Oh, we're so good.
Annie?
Yeah?
This is Joe again. Maybe I could just make a couple of comments, and Zakia can too. Zakia and I will be at every one of your meetings that we can be, but should you decide to go into executive session, we know that means we leave the room, and that's fine. We don't get upset by that. That may be a very important thing for you to do. But we are also here to, in fact, receive and pass on information that you have. We meet regularly with the provosts once a month, the vice presidents for student affairs once a month, the health center directors, and so on. We meet with all of these groups so that if there are questions, as Nate has just said, that you all need to have information collected. It may be that the best way for us to do that would be for me to ask on behalf of the student council, because the vice presidents will usually respond to an email from me. And until they get to know your names, they may or may not respond in a systematic way. But if you all can develop the questions you would like for us to ask, then we at USM can in fact pass those on and gather the information back. So, and we're here all the time, not just during meetings, but either via your officers or your student regents. We'll do the best we can in getting the word out and the information back. Zakia, did I leave anything major out there?
Nope, you hit all of the important points.
Okay. Oh, you're on mute, Annie.
You're on mute, Annie.
Oh, but I'm not on my end.
There you are.
Oh, that was weird. Yeah, I was like, I'm not on mute here. I don't know what to hit. I don't know what button to unmute an unmuted microphone. But the other thing I want all of you to know is be ready to speak up. So this is kind of like, I was calling this to Dan Alpert earlier today. It's kind of like syllabus day. This is our welcome so that we can hit the ground running. But every single meeting, all of you are going to give a campus report regardless. So just come with your ideas ready. Think about them between now and September. I know it's the end of the summer, but it's a perfect time to go out to your constituents, really. It really is, especially this year with so much happening that makes this fall different from any other in the last 100 years. It means that you should probably be going out to your people and seeing what they're thinking and how they're feeling. And just be prepared because, like I said, every single person every time has to give a campus report, both the graduate representative and the undergraduate representative. Similarly, every single meeting, Bernetta gives a report, I give a report, the VP yet to be determined gives a report, and Joe and Zakia both give reports as well. So it is a big time for sharing and for getting to know each other's situations at any given point in time in our time together. That being said, is there anything, you heard a few ideas from Nate and Aaliyah. What's on your all's minds? What are your top priorities as you're outlining them for the fall?
Hi, everyone. My name's David McCreary. I'm the SGA president for Salisbury University. I've just stepped into this role, so it's a little crazy in the transition, but we're going to get through it. One of the major things that we're dealing with and looking forward to remedying is student involvement and continuing that student involvement in a virtual setting. We've been working heavily with our Center for Student Leadership and Involvement on our campus to make sure that we're still reaching out to students and still connecting with students in this weird time that we're all in. So it's going to be challenging, but I think we're going to be very successful in doing that in this upcoming semester and in the future as well.
That is great, David. That is a great point. Are other campuses, are you thinking about that? I know all of you are part of student involvement. Do you all have some things you're working on that you would share?
We are doing the same thing for our student involvement is concerned. We're looking for more visibility with our organization, especially in the community. Trying to get far as building up more financial stability as well with scholarships, things of that nature, because that's one of the things that the graduate students don't have a lot of. Okay, so we're working on that as well behind the scenes. And we are also working with our graduate team also to increase graduation numbers. So I think that visibility goes along with that as well. So I know like on our website, a lot of times it's our stuff like the GSA is always buried in the website and stuff, So we're trying to get on that front page of the website. We want to be in one area where it's not so hard to understand where we are, what we're doing. So that's part of one of the biggest things is visibility and community engagement. So we're there with you, and we'll be glad to share anything that's coming along down the pipeline.
Thank you, Michael and David. That's such a good point because we're only as good as the people. I mean, not only as good as, that's not the phrase exactly that I'm looking for, but we're only going to have the reach and the impact of the people that we have involved in actually knowing what we're doing. And that's also the only voices we're going to hear is the people we reach out to and know that we exist and how we're able to amplify their voice upwards. So thank you both. What else is going on in the realm of student involvement? Has anybody found anything that's really worked well since the pandemic hit, with all the transitions?
I was just going to add a few things that we were doing at the universities at Shady Grove. So For the fall semester, we've really been working on community awareness. So we started hosting like forums at our school. Some of the forums we had was systemic racism, how COVID has impacted the education. I know we're going to be doing a forum soon on voting and teaching students how to vote this upcoming election. So we're really trying to get the students involved in the community. And then we've also been trying to get their feedback to understand what is it that they need moving forward amid COVID. So we've been just really involving them, trying to listen to their voices. We set up meetings with the executive teams and try to bring their concerns to the executive team so that we can start working on some of the things that they require to stay in school, because some people had to drop out of school because they're not able to work right now. They're not able to pay their tuition. So we're trying to tap into those emergency funds and see what can we do to help students be successful, especially in their final year, because our campus only holds juniors and seniors. So in their final year, yeah, we only have juniors and seniors at our school. So in their final year, we want to make sure that they're completing their education, even though we're in the midst of a pandemic right now.
Wow, that's our 101 is me going to be learning so much about Shady Grove. 9 universities, juniors and seniors. Does that mean mostly transfer students?
All transfers.
All transfers. Oh my goodness.
Yes, so our campus is very happy. Yes, and we do have a graduate programs there as well, but only transfer students. So, you know, these students are trying to get into their careers. So we're teaming up with our career center at our school and seeing how can we help students be successful, because the whole purpose of them going to school is to get careers when they graduate. But with our economy, what does that mean for our graduating students?
So true. I'm wondering that.
Yeah.
As a student, what is
this? True.
What is this going to be?
Annie,
this is all so wonderful. Yeah.
This is Joe again. Could I flip the script for just a minute?
Of course, go for it.
Just now about the information coming from students up, if you will, to the administration, to the leadership of the campus. I'd like to flip the script and talk about the role of the student leadership in making this semester successful on our campuses. And I just want the leadership to know that when we were making all of these very difficult decisions on each campus about whether we should bring students back, whether we just ought to go online completely, our presidents have been meeting 3 times a week, at least, over the last several months. And the decision was made that we were going to do our best to open our campuses as much as we could for the following reason. We thought it was the role of the students and their families to determine the balance of risk and benefit, and that there would be some students who would benefit more by coming to campus, even if there were some increased risks, whether that was getting time to degree because of certain face-to-face courses that they really needed, whether it was developing cohorts, as in some of the campuses bringing freshmen together to develop cohorts and giving them as full an opportunity as possible. And in fact, we know that there are many of our students that in fact are better off on campus than they were in their home situation, whether it's because there are too many people in the house and they don't have enough broadband for kids to be in K-12 as well as in college. There are a lot of reasons that our vice presidents for student affairs have worked very hard to make sure that as many students as needed to be away from home could be on campus. The other thing I wanted to say though is that, and you all will see your return to campus, and I know several of you or your peers have been very involved in your own return to campus processes, but I cannot state clearly enough that the number one, the most important thing is in fact that one public health measure, which is wearing your masks. And that we, the chancellor, the president, all of the hoo-has can say that as many times as we want, but it's you as student leaders that are going to be able to model and convince your friends and colleagues that that really, really is important. So we're really excited. We in the administration are excited about all of the interesting and exciting ways, whether at Towson it's called the Tigers Care program, At some of the others, it's a different communication strategy trying to implement this. But I simply can't say enough. We in the administration will try our best to manage, to provide testing, to provide symptom monitoring platforms, all of that. But we really need the student leadership to step out, because you are the ones that are going to lead this public health charge. And if you think about this for a minute, even if we come back, as we are coming back with reduced density on campus, we are still accounting for 100,000 people or more in the state of Maryland, across the state of Maryland. And if in fact those 100,000 peoples practice the good public health processes, we can make a difference in positivity rates and flattening the curve. So it's not just you as students and your immediate peers, but it's you and your behaviors in your communities, whether that's Montgomery County, Prince George's County, Eastern Shore, or Western Maryland. You all can and should be the leaders in the public health effort. So I'm gonna put myself on mute now. I've been on my soapbox long enough.
You're fine. No, that was all great stuff to share. And with that, we will turn to our first guest speaker, Christina Dreschel-Williams. Christina, welcome. If you want to introduce yourself and let me know, do you want me to help you with, do you want me to share my screen for your presentation, or do you have it?
I have it, so whichever is easiest, I have it queued up. So if I have the ability to share my screen, I can do that. But if not, Annie, if it's easier for you to advance the slides, whatever works best for you.
All right. Well, let me ask to Zakia. Is that going to be doable, or do I need to do it?
We can get Christina to do it. Give me 1 second.
Awesome. All right, cool. Thanks, Christina. And with that, to you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christina Dreschel-Williams. I am the Senior Policy Analyst with the Children and Youth Division at the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth and Victim Services. And part of my role is that I serve as advisor and staff to the Maryland Youth Advisory Council. Some of you may or may not be familiar with the Maryland Youth Advisory Council, and that was one of the reasons why both Annie and Zakia gave me the opportunity to share with you about the Youth Advisory Council, because the University System of Maryland Student Council has appointments to our statewide youth council. And so I wanted to have this opportunity to just share more information about what the Maryland Youth Advisory Council does, the roles that council members have, and the opportunity for a collaboration with the University System of Maryland Student Council. So that's just a little bit about me. I've been with the governor's office for 9 years, and in that 9 years, I have served in this role of supporting the Maryland Youth Advisory Council. So very excited to be talking about it and sharing it with you all today. So without further ado, I'm going to try and share my screen.
Yeah, see if you can do it, Christina.
Okay. Just give me one moment. Thank you all for your patience.
Great.
All right.
Yep.
Can folks see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. So just a little bit about what the Youth Advisory Council is. The Maryland Youth Advisory Council was formed through the state legislature, SB 1, in 2008, as a way for young people to be a part of the legislative process and have an opportunity to share their voice with their elected officials, both at the state and at the local level. A number of years ago, the Youth Advisory Council went through a mission and envisioning process, and the members themselves created this mission for themselves. They stated that as a coalition of diverse young advocates and leaders from across the state, the Youth Advisory Council will address relevant issues by influencing legislation, conducting public awareness, and serving as a liaison between youth and policymakers. So those are kind of the 3 pillars that really guide the work of the council. Some of the responsibilities of the council that are outlined in the bill are informing the governor and the General Assembly around issues of importance for youth, And we are very legislatively active. Part of our charge that is included in the legislation is providing opinions and testimony before legislative bodies. So we are very active during legislative session. We also want to, in addition to providing recommendations or feedback, we also want to examine other issues that are of importance to young people. And over the years, those have changed based on the times. We also recommend one legislative proposal each session. So that takes the form of a legislative priority. So the council has a priority for the year to help guide their thinking and what they will choose to support, or bills that they will choose to examine during the legislative session, and also continuing to conduct public awareness around the council, among other young people, and issues of importance to young people. Some other responsibilities are also participating in local youth activities or working with other youth organizations. The council thinks it's really important to be involved with and work in partnership with other youth organizations, because the more young people that are working together, the more minds, the more feedback, the stronger recommendations are. Also, an opportunity to provide advice to local officials and community leaders on youth issues. We're often solicited by whether it's state agencies, nonprofit organizations, mayors, or county executives who really want to better understand how young people are viewing particular issues or policies. We also collect other information from other youth groups to help inform the activities of our council. And at the end of every year, we have to submit a report of our activities that are delivered to the governor and the General Assembly. I just want to quickly pause that a copy of the 2018-19 report and our legislative platform, I shared them with Annie and Zakiah, so I hope that those can, if they have not been shared with you already, that they will be shared for you guys to review and kind of get a better understanding and more in depth of some of the things that the council has done over the years. So the next is our council membership. So the council is composed of 24 members who are between the ages of 14 and 22. And we have 3 different buckets of appointing bodies. So the first bucket are those appointed by the governor. And there are nominations that come through the Maryland Children's Cabinet and through our local management boards, which are essentially children's cabinets at the county level. And the governor's appointments, the applications come through our general application pool. We also have appointments through the General Assembly, so from the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House. And then the category where the University of Maryland Student Council falls in is student government or youth representing other youth. So we have the Maryland Association of Student Councils, which is student councils at the high school level. And then through University System of Maryland and the Maryland Higher Education Commission, we have appointments representing students in higher education. So a little bit more about council membership. So the term of a council member is September 1st to August 31st. That is our council year. When members are appointed, they are appointed to serve a 2-year term. Members must maintain at least 50% attendance to remain in good standing with the council. And after the first year of service of the member, that attendance is assessed, and there may be a conversation or a determination of if that council member will be able to complete the second year of their term. It's a conversation with the appointing body if they have not been able to maintain attendance. Very rarely do we have a council member unable to complete the second year of their term due to attendance. Sometimes it's other circumstances, but that is something to keep in mind, that attendance and participation during your term is very important. Also, members are provided with 4 excused absences or other work absences to fulfill their duties as a council. So there are times when we are advocating down in Annapolis and providing bill testimony. We're having a meeting with a legislator or a state agency, or with an organization. And there are times where that happens during regular work and school hours. So council members are provided the opportunity to have excused absences with fulfilling those duties. And also another thing, while it's not explicitly stated in the law, council members have also been able to use their term of service on the council towards community service hours or service learning hours as well, if that's something that a student needs. So just for what does our membership look like, and I apologize, I did not update the top header. So this is actually the council membership from the 2019-2020 year. So you can see, okay, one moment, please. I apologize. Mommy's having a meeting, please, okay? I will be right back. Okay. Life, here we are. So you can see with our council membership from this past council year, we have really good representation from Central Maryland and parts of Western Maryland, but we have historically struggled with having representation from the Eastern Shore. And we recognize that there are travel barriers for those members to be able to come over the bridge and travel those long distances. So we're constantly trying to be better at recruiting and supporting our council members from Eastern Shore and Western Maryland. So just some logistics about the council. The council meets monthly from September through May. Our meetings are held on a Saturday afternoon of each month from 1 to 4 p.m. When our meetings are held in person, which they are generally held in person, they are held at the governor's coordinating offices, which are located in Crownsville, which is just outside of Annapolis. If folks are familiar with the Anne Arundel County Fairgrounds, our office is right down the street from that. We have had virtual options available to council members to participate in regular meetings, but we preferred in person as much as possible. But recognizing in the time of COVID that for the 2020-2021 council year, our meetings will begin virtual, and we're anticipating that they can go virtual into 2021. Also, in addition to our regular monthly meetings, which that is what the attendance for council members is taken off of, is their participation and attendance in those monthly meetings. There are additional activities in meetings that council members can participate in. All council members are expected to participate in one of two committees. We have the Legislative Committee and the Public Awareness Committee. We also have an executive board, which is a subset of our council members. So there are generally regular calls or check-ins or work assignments that happen in those committees or those executive boards that happen in between our monthly meetings. There's also opportunities to present to other organizations, state agencies, including the Maryland Children's Cabinet that happen. We have an annual meeting with the Children's Cabinet of just sharing the work of the council at that time. As I mentioned, we provide testimony in Annapolis during legislative session, and we are always looking for opportunities for council members to attend or participate in conferences and trainings. Over the last year, we had council members who were invited to participate in a youth panel with the Maryland Out of School Time Network and Maryland Mentor for their annual conference. So that was for youth service providers. And there, we try to take advantage of our council members having those opportunities to professional development and networking. And also we try to schedule advocacy day, so an opportunity for our council members to get to interface with their legislators and see the legislative process happen. We try to work with our legislators to get the council recognized on the floor during morning proceedings, whether in the House or the Senate. So we try to really build out that day. So these are just some of the additional activities that council members can participate in outside of monthly meetings. So as I mentioned, we are very legislatively focused. So our legislative platform was created, I think in 2000 or 2015. The council wanted to have a document representative of the stances of the council, and that would help guide decision making during legislative session about what are some standing things that the council is in support of. There are 7 planks, so you can see there are a number of topics that are included in that legislative platform, and all of these topics are generally represented in the legislation. So some of the legislative topics that are included, and some of these are outlined in the bill that the council can consider. In the red box on the lower right-hand side are some of the past issues that over the 9 years that I've been involved with the council that have been priorities. So some of them include student member of the board voting rights, school nutrition, technology in schools, life skills, college career readiness, mental health, substance use, school and community safety. And a lot of times these issues come up over multiple years. And you can also see that the council also goes beyond just education. And I think that's one of the strengths of this council is that while for our council members being 14 to 22, a lot of their focus is on education, but there's the opportunity for them to have influence on things outside of just the school building and being connected to issues in the community. So this past year, the legislative priority, the council chose to focus on education. Part of that is they recognized that this was going to be the year of education around the Kerwin Commission, but they also decided to identify sub-priorities since education is such a large topic. So within education, they wanted to focus on equity, financial literacy, health education, implementation of the Kerwin Commission recommendations, life skills, post-secondary opportunities, and trauma-informed care. So that helped to guide when they were looking at bills during legislative session, what they wanted to focus on. So here is just my contact information. If anyone has any additional questions about the council or would like to learn more about the council, here is how you can contact me. I did include my cell phone number because my office phone is not, I don't have remote access to it. So if someone is calling my landline in my office in Crownsville, I don't really have the ability to access it. So this is my cell phone number if someone does need to call to reach me. And so I just want to again thank you all for the time to share with you. And I just wanted to then open it up to any questions that folks may have for me.
I have a quick question, and I'm not sure if maybe this was covered, but in terms of like the timeline for like applications coming in, what would that look like? And
so our normal application process for the general application, it's available online beginning September 1st, or excuse me, March 1st through July 1st. And I have reviewed those applications and have made recommendations to the governor, who I'm responsible for, and also providing recommendations to other appointing bodies as needed or as requested. For USM and then also for MHEC, recognizing that sometimes in that time frame, not all of the student council members have been identified or have had the opportunity to meet yet. So have been in conversation and working with Annie and Zakiya about what does that timeline look like for you guys, and me being flexible about and respectful of your process. Our first meeting is in September. So September 12th is our first meeting. And so if we can get someone by then, that's great. But if not, it's okay for someone to come in October later in the council year. And I apologize for my screaming children.
Aw,
If you,
no
if
problem.
you,
Thank,
if you
thank
hear
you.
them, they are jumping and screaming.
Whose birthday was it?
It was my daughter Charlotte's.
Aw.
It was her third birthday. So we had a virtual toddler, 3-year-old birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday, Charlotte. That was a great presentation. I echo Michael from Bowie State. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. And yes, if I'm correct, we appoint as a count, we pick 2, right? And send them to
Yeah,
you?
you have 2 appointments, yes.
All right. So yeah, I think my big ask of the council is after this presentation, please send us ideas of folks who can remember, or the right age range. It eliminates a lot of grad students, but so a lot of undergrads and so big call out to the undergrads right now, and as well as 2-year commitment, being able to commit for 2 years. So please do send those to us. We'll write it out when we send notes and things from the meeting too. But Christina, thank you so much. That was great.
All right, thank you all. And again, if you have any questions or if I can be supportive farther along in the process, please do not hesitate to reach out. And I appreciate the time.
Totally. We'll be
All
in
right. All right, thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of your meeting. Have a good day.
touch. Bye, Christina.
Bye.
Well, Christina did awesome, and we actually have just a few minutes. So if people are open to it for a little bio break, if you will, come back in 5, and we'll start our civic engagement talk with Dr. Shapiro. So I'll see you all at 12:30.
Thanks, Annie.
slides as well? Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to do my slides? That would
I'm
be
happy to do them for you. I'm happy to help. Yeah, let me bring you up.
good.
I'll get that set up real quick.
Thanks.
Of course.
Nancy, thanks for hanging in there with us.
Oh, sure. I mean, this is like awesome. I mean, I can't tell you how great this is to be here.
And everyone should thank Dr. Shapiro. That's why we have a break, because she was very intelligent and wrote me and said, you should maybe give him a bathroom break. Yes, thank you for that. Great idea.
At regular meetings, this is when we're usually eating.
That's right. I'm figuring that people have low sugar right now too. They probably need food.
You're so right.
Hopefully people use the time to get some food.
I hope so. I meant to say that earlier, like it's totally fine to eat during the meeting, video on or off, like please eat.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So if everybody's ready, I can get started.
I think we're good. As soon as I get a little bit limited as soon as I put PowerPoint presentation mode. So just let me know when to advance.
Okay, I'll let you know. Don't put it up yet. Okay, I just want to give a little bit of an intro. I introduced myself at the very beginning, and I said I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor for Education and Outreach. Among the things that I do is work with the entire USM community around the sort of the big picture issues of education and society. And I first want to thank Annie and Bernetta for giving me some time on your agenda. We had a conversation before this, and I wanted to talk to them a little bit about the role that students play in civic education and civic engagement. And they're sort of right on in track, in line with those important values and priorities. So thank you for giving me some time. I am especially honored to be here because I want to congratulate all of you for being the leaders on your campuses, for stepping up to that leadership role. I love following Christina's presentation because she actually did a deep dive into the kind of work that public service is. Joe mentioned your leadership and your modeling public health behaviors by wearing masks. You are the leaders. I want to begin by saying, I actually think you are a once in 100-year generation of leaders. Okay, think about that for a minute. Once in 100 years. You've arrived at the scene of a perfect storm. The world is heating up. Glaciers are melting. The oceans are rising and heating. The society is being ripped apart with respect to historic structural racism and social injustice. Technology is like magic, but it's a double-edged sword. The pandemic, which is scaring the bejesus out of all of us, is raging. The power is in your hands to create the future that you want to live in. So you as student leaders have an incredibly important responsibility to live the life that you want to live, to choose the leaders you believe in, and to become leaders in your own right. So today I want to talk to you about your civic responsibility to vote and to get out the vote. Okay, you could start the slides. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you today about civic education and civic engagement at USM. Next slide. Next slide. Thanks, Annie. So let me give you a little bit of background. The role of USM in civic education and civic engagement is basically the same role that the University System of Maryland has for all of its charges. We convene, we provide an opportunity for our institutions to come together, and we amplify the voices of the members of our community. We amplify the faculty voices, the staff voices, the student voices. That is what we do. And so what I want to talk about today and what I want you to think about as members of the USMSC is how the USM can support students and institutions on the issues that you think are important and we think are important. Historically, back in 2017, which was only a few years ago, but it seems like a long time ago, the USM hosted a statewide lecture and symposium, the Langenberg Lecture and Symposium on Civic Education, Civic Engagement, and Civic Responsibility, Foundations of a Democratic Society. And the symposium was keynoted by Senator Mikulski. We invited teams from campuses, from the MICUA institutions, from the community colleges. We invited the K-12 schools, the state superintendent was there, the State Higher Education Commission secretary and commissioners were there, and the Board of Regents and presidents were there. This was a major statewide convening in early 2017 on the role of civic education and engagement for democracy. That day-long symposium resulted in a set of recommendations from the Board of Regents to create a civic education and civic engagement initiative at the university system. They charged a work group, it was a Regents work group, to come up with recommendations that we could follow as a system to help us align our values with and our mission with our actions. I'm not going to go over all of the recommendations. There aren't that many, but I'm going to mention a few of them. And I just want you to know, you'll get this PowerPoint at the end of the meeting, and it also includes in the notes the recommendations, because I just didn't want to put them all on the screen, too many. But basically, we had recommendations in two categories: to foster an ethos of civic engagement and participation across all parts of all institutions and throughout the educational culture. And that included encouraging all of our institutions to apply for, to go after a Carnegie classification of an engaged institution. And that's like a 5-year process. So that was one of the big recommendations that the Regents asked for. And the second is that all of our institutions would participate in the National Study of Learning, Voting, and Engagement, NSELV, which I'm going to be talking about in a few minutes, but it's a study of voter engagement on campuses. That was one bucket. And the second bucket of recommendations had to do with identifying civic literacy as a core expectation for all students, graduate, undergraduate, all students, that if we have a mission and it's public education to foster civic participation, we needed to make sure that our universities included as part of the core of expectations of learning civic education. And that includes things like more opportunities for service learning, more opportunities for graduate students to align their programs with civic learning outcomes, and creating a Regents designated set of designated priorities that if and when there were resources available, that there would be funding allocated to the priorities of civic engagement across all the institutions. Okay, next slide. The one before that. There you go. So under the big umbrella of civic education and civic engagement, which we abbreviate as CC, we identified 3 working groups. And these are, the 3 working groups have been working since 2017. Voting and census, Carnegie classification, and curriculum integration. And each of those working groups has a chair, either a faculty, staff chair. It includes members of the community across USM and includes students in each of the working groups. In addition to the working groups, we signed up for the National Study of Learning, Voting, and Engagement reports. And every institution in the system gets its own individual report, and the system gets a collected report. And I'm going to give you some data out of the collected report and describe that report. And we made recommendations to the Board of Regents at the last meeting that they held in January, when we had our presentation in January of 2020. Those recommendations included that we would continue meeting as a civic education, civic engagement group every year in an annual meeting moving forward, that we requested system level seed money to incentivize and support campus innovation. And we would provide system level support for cross-institutional collaboration. And this meeting with you today is aligned with that last recommend. Well, the first and the second and the third of those recommendations, meeting every year to keep the movement moving forward, and the system level support for cross-institutional collaboration. Because what I'm going to talk to you today about, what I want to hear from you today about, is how we can do that. Yep. Okay. Next slide. Okay. So I mentioned the Tufts Institute for Democracy and Higher Education produces a report after every election called the National Study of Learning, Voting, and Engagement. And it's called NSELV for short. NSELV is a study. They have over 1,100 campuses that participate in this national study in 50 states. Over 10 million students, data points of over 10 million students. And USM is a subset of that study, and every one of your institutions is a subset of that study, okay? So what I'm going to show you today are the results of the last NSELV report to this system. But each of you should go back to your campuses, ask your presidents or your vice president for student affairs to see your report, because it's a public report. So let me tell you what this is showing. This particular slide is describing the election, a comparison of the off-year elections. These are the non-presidential year elections of 2014 to 2018. If you look on the at the scale, you'll see that blue is all 1,100 and NSELV institutions across 50 states. Red are the NSELV four-year public institutions, and purple is the University System of Maryland as a whole. If you look at the comparison of voting rate, and voting rate is of all the people at the campus, how many people voted, what percentage of the people voted. In 2014, you'll see that the national, the four-year public, and the USM did a little better, you know, sort of, it met and exceeded the national averages, but still we're talking under 25% of students participated in the 2014 off-year non-presidential election. In 2018, very interesting, all the numbers went up for an off-year election. The national numbers went up to 39%. The four-year publics were about the same. USM did better. We didn't get quite 10% higher, but we did, better on the 2018 comparison. In terms of registration, how did we do in terms of voter registration? It's interesting. Again, 2014 and 2018 are almost the same. There's not a whole lot of difference. USM's still doing better than everybody else, which is really good news. It's hard, there are lots of reasons we could probably interrogate that information. We could wonder, because we're so close to Washington, D.C., people hear the news, our local news is national news, so maybe people are more engaged generally around national issues. It is interesting that USM consistently exceeds other institutions and other states in voter registration. With respect to who registered and voted, that combination of those people on campus who we got to register and who voted, again, everything was sort of about even. Everybody did better in 2018 than in 2014 across the board, the national and the local. I'm not going to talk about below the horizontal line in the middle. Those are descriptions of individual institutional differences. When you get your own reports, you can sort of see how your institution compared to the USM array of percentages. Okay, next slide. Another interesting comparison. This is a comparison of this is a description of the last presidential election year. This is 2016. We are coming up to another presidential election, 2020. And what NSELV will be doing after the 2020 election is comparing the 2016 results to the 2020 results. But for now, looking at the 2016 results, you can see all NSELV institutions, the voting rate, the registration rate, and the registered and voted rate. USM still peaking up above the in the general election, but these numbers are much higher than the numbers for the interim elections, the off-year elections. We're getting up there, 70%, 78% registration rate, 71% registered and voted. When you go back to look at your campus results to see how your institution, how Bowie State or College Park or UMES compares to the overall USM rates, that will inform you about the kind of work you need to do back home to see whether or not your voter rates and your registration rates are as high as everybody else's. That's important. The other interesting thing for us to think about when we approach the objectives of getting more people registered and voting is to think about the comparison between women, men, and age, the 18 to 21 year age span, which is the college, the traditional college age student. So USM, our women did a little better than the national average in registering and voting. Our men did a little worse than the national average. But our undergraduate population, for the most part, the 18 to 21-year-olds, were pretty significantly higher than the national average in terms of registering and voting. So that's good to know. We're building on a high base, but we have some work to do with our men. Last slide from this deck, the last slide from this study I want to show you is a really interesting study that you can really sort of dig into on your campuses, I think. This is a study, this is an assessment of how majors sort out in terms of voting. Okay, so if you look on the left, the screen, the 2014 highlights, the highest voting rate, this is USM is on the left and all institutions are on the right. And we're comparing 2014 in the top quadrant and 2018 in the bottom quadrant. And we're comparing highest voting to lowest voting. So if you look at in 2014, library science, public administration, and legal professions were among the highest voting rates in 2014. And the lowest voting rates in 2014 were liberal arts and sciences and humanities, which is really painful to my heart because that's the major, I was that major, fitness studies and architecture, the lowest voting rates. So nationally, you also get library science as a high voting rate percentage, theology and religious vocations, very high, and public administration. And again, lowest are fitness studies, basic skills education, and biological and biomedical sciences, which for anybody in public health, that would make them want to like shoot themselves at this point. You know, if you don't have people informing the public policy around, biomedical health, no wonder we have the COVID. Okay. So then looking down at in 2018, there wasn't a lot of difference. You're still looking at the high voting rates in library science, legal professions, and public administration, and lower voting rates in liberal arts, transportation, and fitness studies. The third horizontal bar talks about where the largest increases were. Architecture jumped up 30 percentage points in voting. family and consumer science and human, I'm not sure what that one was, but jumped up 25%. And library science jumped up even more than it usually is. So there were high increases between 2014 and 2018 in areas, and you wonder, what was it about architecture? What made them be so interested in voting in 2018 when they didn't vote in 2014? I would challenge you to go back to your campuses and take a look at sort of you can drill down on your campus majors to see which of the majors on your campuses are high voters, high responsible voters, and which ones don't bother to go to the polls, and get those people out, get those people registered, because if their community, if their, interactions don't tell them to go register, then somebody else has to. Okay, next slide. Okay, so what can you do right now for yourself, for your network, and for your community? For yourself, check your own voter registration status right here on this website. It's turbovote.org. You put in your name, your zip code, your name, find out whether you're registered. If you're not registered, you can register. For your network, triple the vote. Commit to just tripling the vote. Register yourself and at least 2 friends who are not registered. If you do that, you're already, think about the reach that you have. If you, and then put that on social media, if you and all of your people you interact with triple the vote, we have a significant number. As Joe was saying, 100,000, we touch 100,000, 150,000 people in the state of Maryland as part of the USM. We have a significant reach and impact on our future. And for your community, you can volunteer as an election worker, an election judge. You got the letter from the Secretary of Higher Education. One thing that letter didn't tell you is that those positions are paid. I'm not sure, they're paid by the counties. They have different ranges by the counties, but I think it's at least $15 an hour, and it may be, and you get paid for the training and for the day you're manning the polls. And it depends on whether they put you in as a judge or as some other kind of a poll watcher. So the rate may vary, but I would strongly urge you to get out there and be an election judge if you can. And then, of course, you can write letters, postcards, you can vote, there's a Vote Forward website that I'm going to give to you. Second, let me see. One other thing I wanted to say. Okay. Okay. So next slide. Like I said, you're going to get this. Okay. You're going to get this slide, and all of the links are live. These are all nonpartisan 501c3 they're nonpartisan ways of participating in reaching out to get people informed. So in conclusion, you can take the slides off. So in conclusion, you are the witnesses to history right now. In fact, you are making history. There are 79 days till the national election. It is not insignificant that 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment, guaranteeing and protecting women's constitutional right to vote. The 100th anniversary. Why history chose you, we won't know. But as Shakespeare wrote in Twelfth Night, be not afraid of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and others have greatness thrust upon them. And you are all of these things. So go do your thing. And now I'm open for questions, comments. Thank you. And I would also love to hear what you know is going on your campuses.
Nancy, that was really wonderful. I would love for you to come to one of our general body meetings.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you for this information. I think it's so important, especially around the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think one of the things that's one of the bigger issues, especially for graduate students and undergrads actually, is with people coming from so many different states, the absentee vote and the mailing voting and the information that's surrounding that is so, messed up right now. So we would love to get more information about that. So when you come, I would love to hear your thoughts of how we can secure that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I will say that we cannot be too vigilant. There is an active voter suppression movement out there. It is anti-democratic. It doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent or some other party. It is anti-democratic to suppress the vote. And to the extent that there are there are a couple of things that you should actually, the message should go out, should be vote early. If you find out when in your state is the earliest voting, vote as early as you can to make sure your vote counts. If you are getting an absentee ballot, send it in as early as you can. Don't wait till the last minute. If there are mail ballot boxes in your neighborhoods, or if there are no ballot box receptacles in your neighborhoods, advocate, call the election office and say, you want ballot boxes in your neighborhood so people can drop their votes off in the ballot boxes. There are things you can do, not to mention be election judges. So yes, but I mean, I won't wait to tell you those things. Those are things you can do.
If I could just add something to your commentary, which is phenomenal, by the way, Nancy. Thank you. In terms of the fact that we are a apolitical organization, and so we can't afford to point fingers in that regard, but we can still be vigilant. And rather than pointing fingers, we can simply do everything that we can to make sure we keep every option open for constituents, for our students. Nancy mentioned election judges in one of her slides, and right now in the state of Maryland, there's a huge need for 30,000 election judges, more than 30,000, because those are primarily senior citizens that have done it in years past. And right now it's not safe for them to come out. So there is an ask out there, not necessarily from me, but there is an ask out there for us to try and reach out to our constituents and reach out to our students to see if they can fill that gap.
Great.
Real quick, just a point about election judges, because I actually looked into this. You need to be from that state in order to do it. So like I'm from Pennsylvania, I can't be an election judge here and I can't go home for one day to do a job. So kind of just making that clarification.
Thank you. Thank you. You're right. You have to be from, you can only be an election judge in the state where you're registered to vote. So if you can't be an election judge, you can do other things.
Nancy, that I really appreciated that presentation, and I'm here texting Kia, who's the co-chair of UMCs, and I'd like to show those slides at our next student body meeting in October. But I was wondering, how do we access the individual institution information? So how would I access, say, UMC's
information? That all the presidents and vice presidents for student affairs received the information from NSELF directly. So it's somewhat, but even though all of our institutions belong to NSELF and signed the waiver, every institution has to individually sign the waiver to allow NSELF to match their student data with the voter data that they get. And that matching doesn't tell who you vote for. There are two public sets of databases that get put together by a program. I don't get the individual institution reports. The individual institution gets it. So it should go to your president or whoever the president designated. So that's where I would ask for it. And you can just, ask for the NSELF report from 2018, the 2018 NSELF report.
And that's something, you all, as we pick out our director of government affairs, maybe that's something we want to ask them to work on, working on that data from each of your schools so you can direct your outreach in the most beneficial ways. Just putting it out there as we decide our people. And Dr. Shapiro, could you talk a little bit more about what people can do? The group that comes to my mind is international students, but could you speak a little bit more to what, you know, always giving people options of what they can do? Because even if you don't have the right to vote in this country, there's a lot you can do.
Right. So that's exactly right. The idea is, you know, as Benjamin Franklin said, this is a republic if you can keep it. We can't assume that we can't, I mean, and you look at the world that, I mean, look at Lebanon and what's happening after that terrible explosion, and how the people are saying, we're not going to stand for this anymore. This isn't, you know, this is not taking care of our people. You know, one of the things that individuals can do is really make sure that you understand the choices you have, to be informed voters. I know that I was talking to someone from College Park actually, and there's a group on the College Park campus that's putting together a little video modules for faculty to use in courses about what do you need to know about voting? How do you register? You know, that sort of basic information that people may be afraid to ask because they don't want to sound stupid. You know, it's our responsibility to tell people they're not stupid. They can ask questions, and you have to be informed about what you're voting, you know, who you're voting for and what your issues are. And if you're not a citizen, and if you're not, you know, if you can't vote, make the issues that matter to you known to the people who can. I am curious. I mean, one of the things that we did, Joe has been, you know, really supportive of all of this work, and this falls under the academic student affairs unit. We requested from the provosts the names of people on their campuses to put together as a civic engagement leadership council. These are people who are on their campuses, they may be you guys, they may be you might be the people who've been nominated, but they also may be other people who are involved in other more specific civic engagement kinds of community activities. Once I get those names together and pull those people together, I would actually love to, so when I say amplify the voices, every institution has its own core of people who are the activists and are the people who light the fire under the rest of the community. This time, when, you know, we're facing all the campuses are opening mostly virtual. Like I said, it's a double-edged sword. You're all here because we didn't have to travel. You know, the Eastern Shore people are here and the Western Maryland, Frostburg people are here because we didn't have to travel. You can actually communicate to people, and we can put groups of people together on campus who may not be working together if they're on the campus, but they can work together in a virtual space to magnify the voices of participation. So I would say, yeah, I would like to get, you know, this USMSC people together with the new group of people that we're pulling together from the institutions who are involved in civic education. And at the very least, you'll have a small core on your campus to be a spark. I'm curious about, does any of you know what else is going on in your campus with respect to voter engagement this season?
Yeah, I can speak a little bit of what College Park is doing. So College Park, we have Tips Vote, which is essentially our coalition of students and faculty and staff that work on getting out the vote. And so one of my directors in my cabinet is named Sasha. She has been doing this for a year essentially, and she's our director of civic engagement. And so she's really taking a target at kind of what you were talking about, some of our colleges that have a little bit less engagement. So specifically our business and computer science students need a little boost in their civic engagement this year. And so she's really taking a look at that and how we can really get them to turn out. And then we're also part of the Big Ten Voter Challenge, So we'll be doing things competing against the other Big Ten schools. And then we are also working with our Greek life to get matches to kind of compete against each other with that as well.
Well, I love the idea of competition. I think we could, there would be, even if you don't compete against other institutions, you can compete, your own personal best kind of competition for those people who were track stars. You sort of find where you are and see if you can, make it better.
I was going to go next. I know at the universities at Shady Grove, we're actually going to be a polling station. So our school will be having people come and vote. So our campus is really big on voting. So yes, I would love for you to come and speak because we're going to be putting stuff together, just educating people on their right to vote and encouraging them to vote. And then we were also going to host something where we have different council members because yes, it's presidential, but there's other elections that are important as well. So we wanted council members to come where we can tell them what we want and see what their responses are, so we know who we're voting for, making an educated vote and just letting them know what we as a community need from them and just kind of get their feedback on that as well. So that's something that I plan on putting together at our campus.
Tiffany, I was so impressed when you were describing the kinds of things that you're doing at Shady Grove, just to begin with. I mean, creating community. I was there at the beginning when Shady Grove was first created. And I remember having conversations early on with the leadership. How do you create community at the University of Shady Grove, which is all universities? And what you've been doing, focusing on the community, it's embedded in the community, is probably the most exciting way of getting people to care about what's happening. So that's great. No, I'd be happy to come.
Okay,
I live around the corner.
Yes, your presentation was amazing. So you did a really good job. And just when you're speaking, I'm even excited to vote now. So you have a very empowering voice and convincing people what they need to do.
Oh, good. Good.
Dr. Shapiro, may I ask, I know this election's a little bit different with voter education because we have, in the case of absentee ballots, you actually need to sign the ballot before you're mailing it back in. And I know that can create difficulties if we have students that are filling out a ballot, mailing it back in, but forgetting to sign the back of it. And so can you speak at all to any efforts that you know of that are ongoing within the USM community on helping to ensure, particularly in this election cycle with so much absentee voting, that those absentee ballots are being, completed correctly, I guess?
That's a really, really important and good question. I think that, ironically, to my mind, the fact that people are more and more aware that there are efforts to devalue people's votes, that you might go out there to vote, but someone's, maybe looking over your shoulder and saying, it doesn't count for this reason or this reason or this reason. The United States of America has a history of voter suppression. I mean, that was what the Civil Rights, the Voting Rights Act was in 1965 was about. Again, this is not partisan. This is a democratic responsibility. So I think education, I think this is where, whether it comes through student government education or, I remember I told you there were 3 committees, 3 work groups for the, USM CC group. There's the voter and census group. And I worked with the census, all last spring, trying to make sure that we were all counted and that, there's issues with the census, but that's done now. There's the Carnegie classification subgroup, which has every institution working towards a civic engagement set of values and actions. And then there's the curricular integration subgroup. And the curricular integration subgroup is chaired by the provost at Salisbury University. And Karen Olmsted has been very proactive in faculty development and providing faculty opportunities to understand how they can integrate not just voting, but civil dialogue into their courses, and not to be afraid of not to be afraid, but how to manage debate around complex and controversial issues. Responding to how to make sure people's votes get counted should be integrated into courses. I mean, people should say, if you're going to be submitting an absentee ballot, do you know that you have to, follow all the rules if you want your vote to be counted? If you're going to make that effort, make sure you sign the ballot, like it just has to be reinforced, I think, Nate.
The basic education, I would reiterate what Nancy said, and with regard to the signature on the outside of the ballot and so on, to actually understand that the signature has to be there to match the signature when somebody registered, but the signature is destroyed as the ballot is opened. So there is not a connection between the signature and name and how the ballot is being counted. So, and a lot of people don't understand that separation. So merely understanding the process and making sure that others understand the process, that one aspect, the matching of signatures, is there to reduce the opportunity for fraud, but it does not in fact reveal identity. So that disconnect is really important for people to understand too.
Yeah, I think that's and it's so easy to slip into a fear that your vote is going to be tracked. One of the things that the NSELF group at Tufts is very, very adamant about is that when a university signs the agreement that NSELF can reach into the database to gather the people's addresses and who's registered and who's not registered, it doesn't have anything to do with who people voted for. It's really just a question of, did they register anywhere and did they vote where they were registered? And if that happened, then campuses can have some tracking of their voter participation. But you're right, Joe, you don't want people to think that you're identifying who they vote for by name.
Can anyone speak more to those educational videos? I'm wondering if that's something that could be shared, or if USMSC, we could create some central ones, and that's one way we help as a collective body and provide those to each institution. What are folks' thoughts?
Well, I did ask Sasha. Sasha was the one who I spoke to, who mentioned that they were doing these these modules. And she said that she would be very happy to share it with the student council and with the other system institutions, that she drew on she and her group, and Dan, you might know more about this than I do, but when her folks pulled together that little, the video that they're working on and offering it to faculty, they drew on their NSELF report information. So each group might want to personalize it, to their institution, but having a template, I think, would be a great, useful thing to be able to send out to the campuses. And I'd be happy to follow up with Sasha about that.
And Nancy, can you please tell us what the NSELF report stands for? Can you just?
Yes, sure. The National Study of Learning, Voting, and Engagement.
Thank you.
Sure. So I see Daniel sent a note, University of Baltimore. Daniel, why don't you describe that?
Of course. So on our campus, we have Andrew Goodman Fellows, and what they basically do is that they organize different activities, different initiatives, different programming that primarily focuses around raising awareness for voting and also get students to register for that. They usually share a lot of different links where you can go now virtually to do it and things like that. I know we are currently in talks for organizing a debate between city council members who are for our district and also the mayoral candidates in Baltimore. So we're kind of excited to work on those projects. And there's definitely a huge benefit to having a program like this on your campuses, because students get the opportunity to specifically work on these issues, but they also can get some kind of a stipend out of it. And it's a really good experience. I know our university also usually ranks really well with our overall engagement, and I'll send a link below so you can see some of that.
Yeah, I should commend Daniel and the University of Baltimore. They were like the #1 in the nation in terms of voter participation in the last election. So yeah, so they know what they're doing.
At Salisbury University, we have what's called the Institute for Public Affairs and Civic Engagement. And what they do a lot of things in terms of voter education and just supporting the vote. In collaboration with PACE last semester and a couple of semesters before that, we did absentee voter registration at our school because when you think about it, a lot of our student population comes from different parts of Maryland or different states, and it's really, really hard for them to vote while they're on campus if they can't get back home to do early voting or to do voting on the day. It's really difficult. So it's been a push to try and get people educated on those absentee voting benefits and those opportunities so that they can move forward and cast their vote and be counted. Along with that, the mayor of Salisbury, actually, Mayor Jacob Day, has been actively pushing for a polling place at the university so people won't have to run around Wacomico County to try to find where they can vote if they're registered in Wacomico County. And it's really creating a good opportunity for people to have those opportunities to cast their vote and be heard.
That's awesome. I mean, I think that, yeah, that's so important. Obviously, what's happening, the other thing that's just such a complicating issue for us today is the COVID quarantines and limitations and de-densifying the campuses and not as many people. What we thought we were going to do a year ago when we thought about rallying people around registering to vote on campuses, there were going to be events. We were going to have, we were going to hand out little trinkets. We were going to, put banners and set up tables and tents. That's probably not going to, that's not the way we're going to be reaching people now. But it doesn't mean that there aren't good ways to reach people. And I think that that's the pivot, that just because we can't do a rally doesn't mean we can't reach the people. So the idea of bringing polling places onto campuses for people who need to be in person and vote locally. But the other is to make sure that everybody knows what the dates are for their absentee ballot requests and their ballots. The one thing is the ballots from states can't actually be printed until the 2 national conventions have been completed, because then they won't know who's, technically they don't know who's going to be on the ballot until the conventions nominate candidates for the national election. So it's not too late, but it's also not too early to find out what the deadlines are for mail-in ballots. I mean, finding out the dates is very important. Anything else? So I hope everybody feels empowered to go home go home virtually to their student councils and to their presidents and their vice presidents for the provost and vice president for student affairs and say, who are the people on our campus who are doing this work? Let's get them all together. Let's, we only have 79 days to make an impact or less, fewer days if we want to be mailing in ballots. And I'm certainly here to support or provide. And like I said early in the beginning, the system, that's what the system does. It supports the campuses to do the work that needs to be done. So that's what I do.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, and as Dr. Shapiro offered, please do take her up on the offer to come and speak at your individual campuses. Let's keep in mind, let's get the everything working in our brains to generate ideas of how we are going to take up the call as a system, and then how that can both trickle up and down to create support at the levels of the Chancellor and the USM, but also at each of our individual institutions. So really excited to work with you. We're going to keep working with Dr. Shapiro all year. So, it's gonna be
happy to do it. Thanks, Annie. Thanks, Bernetta.
Thank
you. And thank you everybody who is sharing. I love our agenda today because this is a perfect segue into Bernetta's presentation about how are we going to communicate with everyone, right? How are we gonna get them excited? Because we can all register to vote and do the amp, but we really want to use our collective voice to get out there. So with that, I will turn it over to our wonderful VP, Bernetta, to do our next presentation.
All right, thank you, Annie. Let me just share my screen. 1 second. And let me know, I guess, once it's up. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so as Annie mentioned earlier during the meeting, we are looking to establish directors, one of which will be a director of communications. And so we've been doing a lot of groundwork, which will actually look forward to kind of handing off to that person, but continuing to work closely with whoever that person is. But our digital strategy is a big part of that and falls under the director of communications. So we've kicked things off. To start, our strategy actually includes an overview of our primary and our supporting functions as a council. It also highlights the platforms that we maintain now, including our shared spaces, which is our OneDrive, our distribution list, and our website. Additionally, it includes our social media platforms. Some of these are new. Our OneDrive platform is new this year. We have a new short URL this year for our website, and we also have Microsoft Teams that hopefully everyone has access to at this point. But if you don't, please do reach out to me and let me know so I can make sure you all have access. Right now, our primary goal in terms of our digital efforts and our communications is to share ideas and concerns of general interest to our students, as well as being a resource to all of you, our SGAs and our GSAs across all of our campuses. So primarily we want to increase awareness of the council and our followers while amplifying the work that we do and the messaging that we have in place to support our efforts. We also want to enable cross-sharing of information. We want to promote our meetings, events, and announcements, as well as highlight our students as needed and represent their voices as well. So we're going to be looking for creative ways to be able to do that throughout the year as well. There's also policies and guidelines that have set a strong foundation for us to be able to do what we need to. And everyone is encouraged to familiarize yourself with our bylaws, with our Constitution, and also our editorial style guide. That's at the university system level, but it also helps us to communicate in a uniform way. And this is what we're going to be following as we continue to serve our constituents. Hopefully, everyone has had a chance to take a look at our social media channels. And hopefully you're all following us. If not, please do. I think most of you are, and we have created a list on at least our Twitter feed where you can go and see all of the Twitter handles and platforms for all of your schools and campuses. So that's a great way to put that in one place. But please do share our channels across your campuses with all of your groups and all of your student organizations, because the more that we all engage with one another and follow each other, the more visibility that we have and the better we're going to be able to work together and collaborate in that regard. So we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're now on YouTube. We just launched our new YouTube channel this month. I believe it's the first one that we've ever had as a council. And this is also where we're going to be live streaming all of our meetings. So the meeting today is being live streamed right now on our YouTube channel. And then also after the meeting concludes, the recording will still be available via YouTube as well as on our website. So please make sure to share this channel as well. We love to get as many subscribers as possible, and continue to share all of our social media channels as well as our website. Now, when Annie and I took office, we moved very quickly and very decisively to begin to conduct a number of different assessments, one of which was to ensure we have a very well put together digital platform. So as part of our initial assessment, we updated our website and we implemented analytics so that we can see how many folks are coming to our website periodically and where spikes may occur. We also implemented a new platform, which is Microsoft Teams, to enable direct communication across the council. So we can do instant chats, we can do instant one-on-one meetings or really small group meetings as needed. We've also established a new short URL for our website, which makes it easier to promote the work that we're doing on all of our social media channels. And we also established a public email address so that students will be able to contact us. And I don't know if have we sent that email address out, Annie? I don't have it handy in front of me, but
I will find it and I'll type it in the
we'll make sure everyone has that, so you can share that with your constituents as well. And we'll make sure there's a central way for everyone to access that. We also updated our logo. So we have a brand new logo that more closely aligns with the system's brand as well. We also hope to have digital templates. So some of the information that we've been talking about today around civic engagement and other types of initiatives, we want to help you all spread the word by getting you points that you can share online and graphics to accompany that, perhaps digital toolkits and things like that soon. And then we'll use that to highlight system-wide information with some level of uniformity. Some key next steps will actually include leveraging a shared calendar. So what I pulled up here is just some initial key calendar dates for the 2020-21 year ahead. These are some things that we know we're going to have to plan around in terms of messaging and ways that we can also leverage what's just happening in a broader sense for more visibility. But we're looking to establish a shared calendar for all of us to be able to stay aware of what's happening across our campuses and better collaborate. To be able to do that, we are going to ask members, all of you, to update a calendar or send us information that we can put on a central calendar as well. And we like to do that each month or as often as possible. And so that's, I think, and let me know if I'm missing anything, but that's just kind of a quick summary of where we are right now on the communications front. And again, once we appoint our director, we hope to elaborate on this much more.
Yeah, Bernetti, you did a great job. Thank you. Another thing we had been talking about as a way to make things efficient for all of you, we realize that you're all leading really big efforts at each of your campuses. So this is an assumption, and I don't want to make an assumption necessarily, but do most of you, those of you not on video, feel free to do a thumbs up. But if you're on video, somehow show acknowledgement. Do you have some kind of person on your executive team who's in charge of communications for the most part? Does everyone have a separate person? Okay, I'm seeing nods, I'm seeing thumbs up. So what we were thinking about doing is collecting the contact information for that person from each of your campuses to make that a direct, line of communication, so you don't always have to be the middle person. It's not always, we email David and Tiffany and everybody then has to email their VP of PR, and then it might go out, because we're also trying to shorten that turnaround time for everyone and be cognizant. So just be on the lookout. We'll try to collect those as well. And I imagine we're going to be collecting the other social media handles too, so that in addition with being connected to the system, you'll be better connected with each other. so you can follow each other and get to know each other well. And then the other piece that just dawned on me, I was seeing if either of them joined today. I don't know if Naila Benet or Wangui joined. I'm not seeing them. If you're there, please speak up. But we have a couple folks who joined for the last meeting of the previous term of USM, and they had a direct interest in helping with these kinds of initiatives. So both of those individuals are also going to be helping that director of communications, just volunteering their time and being involved with the council in that way. So we'll have a whole little team, but hopefully that sounds good to everybody. Does anybody have a problem with sharing that person from their team? Am I not thinking? Okay. Cool. Are there things that you all want to see us sharing or looking into? Do you all have working, like, do you all have pretty consistent social media channels that you do for all of your folks? For the most part? Okay, good. I think it's going to be a really important year for this. So if you don't have that up to speed, please do update all your stuff. Just so everybody can really be successful this year, because we're all going to be connecting this way. And I tend to think I'm very hopeful. Those who know me know, like, the only reason I can be president this year is because everything is virtual, because I don't have a car. So, so that was a big part of it. But I think that these virtual meetings, even though we lose some things not being in person, we're gaining so much, hopefully, like Dr. Shapiro mentioned, in accessibility to every single school every single month. So as long as we can keep these really smooth and really engaging, I know it's a long time to be in front of a Zoom screen, but I think we're going to do our best to make it very worthwhile for all of you. You know, I'm not opposed to ending the meeting early, but I do want to make sure everybody feels like everything's covered, everybody in the room. So is there anything you didn't cover? Anybody who came late that didn't introduce themselves? Everybody good? Yeah, good. I got a thumbs up from David. Thank you, David. Well, a big thank you again to everybody who spoke up today. Remember, typically our next meeting is official. Please get in those Vice President for Graduate Affairs nominations. Please think about who on your campuses would be good at government affairs, diversity and inclusion, communications and marketing, and student affairs. Those are the 4 director positions. Keep those in mind as well. And be on the lookout for having a one-on-one with me. I'll try to do them either by school. So I might go to both people at a school to get a good feeling for the school. Or if that doesn't work out, we'll do one by one. So just be on the lookout for that. And remember, we're going to be asking a lot of you, but you're also going to be getting a lot out of this. So yeah. Oh yeah, Michael?
One question, the job descriptions to those positions, are they online as well?
That's a good question. They are, but they're kind of hidden. So we have like little social media, kind of like what we sent out for today's meeting. We have little social media graphics we're making, especially for the VP. That one's already made, but we'll make sure to get those out to you all, and we'll send that in. And I'll figure out some way. I'll probably put it on OneDrive, all the nominees, to get people's feedback for the ones who aren't elected.
Also, Annie, so the actual descriptions of each of those positions should be in the bylaws, which is on our website. So if you go to the Student Council's website and you scroll down, you'll see a link to our bylaws. And if you open that, then I think it's a little long, but for a good reason, because we're a big group, we're a big team. But if you look through that, you'll see the descriptions for each of the positions.
And what are the times? The time spent that the person needs to figure? That's a big question they're going to ask, especially for grad students. How much time are they going to have to dedicate to these positions? Would that be included as well?
That's a great question, Michael. I am actually going to ask, I think we have a couple people in here who have been in these positions prior. Does anyone want to speak to how much time you had to use in them? Anybody?
Annie,
Yeah.
I just want to, okay, Liv's going to talk.
Oh yeah, so I helped last year with communication and marketing. And so for me, I just love all the things that are being done this year. So I definitely would like to volunteer my time in helping with this year because, okay, so last year it wasn't that much of, the main thing I did is making sure that we had everything uploaded on all our shared drives. And so I also took the notes of the minutes of the meeting, which is why this time I very excitedly volunteered to do it. But I think that from my part, it was from my end because I was also secretary of the university for a long time. So I was good with it. So for me, it was something that I was familiar with and I really enjoyed doing. So for anybody who's considering being one of the directors, do consider what you think is your best strength and work accordingly to that. So that's why this year I'm definitely going to try and volunteer my time with communications and marketing this year because I think Burnett and Annie have done a phenomenal job laying the groundwork, and I think it's a really exciting thing to work for. But I can't speak. I believe we had somebody else who was also a director last year. Was it Simon or somebody who was legislative affairs or something? I think he definitely probably had more hands-on role and he was sitting in on a lot of extra meetings. So Annie, I don't know if you have more insight into what he did, but from the role I had last year, it was pretty much, it was something I was familiar with. So I really enjoyed doing it.
That's such a great point, Niv. And thank you for volunteering your time and for taking notes today. You relieved my stress levels. You have no idea how much when you volunteered to take notes today.
Michael, this is Joe. One of the other things that people need to realize is that, especially for people who graduate students or majors in certain areas, those of us at USM, when somebody does a good job in volunteering like this, we will be more than happy to write letters of recommendation as they're applying for jobs or as undergrads are applying for graduate schools. And this would in fact be a way that one could distinguish oneself. So although it's a volunteer position, it doesn't go as useless time. Not only are you involved, but we certainly are more than willing to do that.
And I was just going to add, I think a few hours a week. I don't think it's, overwhelming. The student affairs position has been open for a while. So some of these, there's still there's a lot of room for growth and room for your creativity. So, at minimum, a couple hours a week, but it could be more. I know for the diversity position, we have a diversity and inclusion council at the system level that meets once every other month or so, maybe even less frequently than that. So we'd ask that person and invite others who are interested to sit on that council. So a lot of it, Michael, is still up to the person who takes the position. And, I would say minimum a couple of hours a week, you can probably get it going good, but there's, again, room for growth and potential, a lot of potential there in all of those positions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. That was a great question. As a fellow graduate student, I 100% agree that that's number one question on people's minds. This has been truly awesome. I have loved meeting all of you. I can't wait to work with you all year. I think we're going to have a great year. So if no one else has anything, I can only look at one screen load at a time if anybody's waving at me. Then I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. And we'll see you September 13th. And we'll continue to send out calendar invites with Zoom info for each meeting and so forth to make it easy for you all. Please RSVP to those. I'll keep sending more and more reminders. If you're wondering why I'm sending so many, is because if I don't see 100% RSVPs, it doesn't mean like they're all yeses. It just means I'm going to keep sending reminders. So if you want less emails from me, RSVP faster. And then there will be less reminders. All right, you all. You're very appreciated. Thank you for serving, and we'll see you in September, and we'll be in touch in between. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Stay safe, everyone.
Stay
You too.
Thank you.
Great talking to everybody.
Absolutely.
Annie, I had a question. Should I email you regarding setting up the one-on-one meeting? And
Yes.
also